I almost had it faultless. Almost. It was so close to perfect. Never mind. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Paranormal United Network with the ABC of Paranormal Strangeness with myself, Anne Rekovich, and
Renata Daniel.
We are both paranormal investigators, and we love looking at all things ooky spooky. This week we are looking at the letter K, and we were sort of tossing up what we were going to do there for a while, and then we dug out a book that was what was it?
It's
huge.
Yes.
It was a gift.
It's this beautiful tom. We have 3 of them. The Encyclopedia of Occultism and Parapsychology. Thank you, Jen Ben, for being so wonderful in lending this to us.
We're looking after them for her.
We're looking after them very well, but it's a little bit of a resource when it comes to looking for things alphabetically. And yes, we found a particular subject in here that kind of piqued our interest, and we thought, okay, let's give this a crack and see how we go, whether it takes us down a rabbit hole. And instead, it took us down a mine shaft. So there you go.
And look, I have to admit, once again, Renata is the one that's done all the work on this.
So forgive me.
I was going to be doing some this morning and adding my little bits and pieces into it, but we had a crisis, as you do, finding that only one of 2 tracks of something that needed to go to someone a couple of weeks ago has ended up in the Dropbox, and now we can't seem to find the other track. So I'm having a minor meltdown, as you do. So, what's been happening this week, Renata?
One piece of very good news that we have is that we started our radio show on Sunday for Newcastle Live Radio. So interestingly enough, all of you, wherever you are around the world, can actually listen to it, because you can get it as an app on your phone, which means that you can jump on and listen to it live, or you can actually download it and listen to it later on. So it's Newcastle Live Radio here in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia, not Newcastle, England, UK.
And if you didn't guess from our accents.
And we are now on permanently from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Sunday with stories and interactive episodes or segments in there, and fantastic music.
Yeah, Robert, it's not that the disc has gone missing. I've got all the discs. There is one that is now corrupted and won't show me what is on it, because I never delete the actual files until the episode has aired. And yeah, I've got one more thing to left to do, where I've got some discs stored in a little orange container. I've got to go through all of those. But yeah, it's a little bit of a stress. If not, we'll just have to re-record. As you do. It'll be our first time I've had to re-record. That's okay. Yeah. And also, we have stopped our Q&A Paranormal Monday nights now here in Australia, because we had to shift all of that across onto the Sunday night, because we're just so flat chat busy. We simply couldn't just add another layer, particularly since the radio show that we do is 2 hours. And there's a lot of information in there that needs research, as well as our True Hauntings podcast we do every week. So we had to make sacrifices, and we love our Monday night show. But we actually had quite a good turnout on the Sunday night numbers-wise, didn't we?
That's good.
Yeah. And what have we got coming up this weekend?
We have Maitland Jail Tour, which is probably our most popular tour that we have. Fingers crossed that everything goes ahead with that one, and we can do it. And we have a sold out Miss Porter's house. And when we say sold out, it's 8 people. It's a tiny little house.
Oh, so it has sold out now.
Yes, it's sold out.
Excellent.
And that's because it's just a very tiny little house, and we are still under COVID restrictions here, so we have to make sure that there's space for everyone.
Yep. And also, don't forget the Paranormal United Network. She says it. wheezing, what's it called? It's hard to see. It's Temple Fear Fest Paracon that's coming up in America. So there is the link there if you'd like to know more information about that. Thank you, Courtney, for reminding us every week, because we do forget here in Australia. Also, you will have Christy there, who is on the side. She's posting links for all our tours and things, so that if you are interested in any of those things, you know where to go find it. One last thing before we get into today's topic is that we are doing a workshop through the Australian School of Ghost Hunting. So it's a little mini masterclass on empaths. So I don't know if many of you would know what it is to be an empath, but if you are feeling overwhelmed in this world, particularly when you go into spaces where there is a lot of people and you just feel like you're being barraged with emotions that you don't quite understand what's going on, you feel like you just can't cope in the world, then it could be that you are an empath. And this course is designed to help you understand what an empath is, and also how to deal with it and how to use it, because it can actually be something that is a tool in your work belt rather than a curse. Anything to add to that?
They're doing very well, Anne.
Da, 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 da. So head over to the Australian School of Ghost Hunting for the mini masterclass Empath Survival Guide. You can do that course anywhere around the world. Once you've bought a ticket, you get put into a private Facebook group, if we can get that to work, and then each week at a designated time we will do a live class. If you can't make the live class, that's okay, it's recorded there and you can go in and watch it at your leisure. We will remain active in that group for about a month, so if you have questions or things like that, you can ask your questions and we'll come on into that group after you've watched your thing and do our best to answer your questions. And then the actual page will remain live, we think, for at least a year, but it depends on whether Facebook has a tantrum about something. Who knows with Facebook?
And the thing is that if you are a highly sensitive person, or you consider yourself an empath, really only other empaths can understand what you're going through. And so you will be in a nice little container filled with other empaths, so we can talk about how shitty we feel all together, and we don't have to upset anyone. So there you go.
All right, we're a little bit flummoxed this morning. That's okay. We will get on with today's topic on the ABC of Paranormal Strangeness, which is K, and we discovered something called KOBOLD. Hang on, what have we got there? I can see you trying to look at that.
Oh, it's just one of our lovely people online, Jaron, is saying that the end of lockdown in Victoria. Yay, tomorrow.
Good awesome. On you. You've got far more sensible people than what we have here in New South Wales. I suppose you guys have had good practice at it. You know it works if you do the right thing. Buckle down, get it done, then you can all get out. But we've got a whole pack of princesses here in New South Wales that want their rights and their dignity and whatever else it is, forgetting that them jumping up and down saying we want our rights actually impinges on our rights to stay safe. So anyway, let's not go down that track. Let us know where you're all from in the comments. We always love to know where all these beautiful people are from. And I'm just going to add this to the stream now, which is the ABC of Paranormal Strangeness. And I'll just widen that out. Oh, Renata, you've done a great job with the banners and everything. Hi, Katie, how are you?
Yeah, every week that I do it, I find another thing that I can add to it and go, oh, I can make it even prettier. So there you go.
Oh, that's good, because normally it's my job to pretty it up and I didn't get time this morning. So I'm so grateful you did. So has anyone actually heard of KOBOLD? Let us know in the comments if you'd actually heard of this entity, creature, thingamabobby.
And the thing is that I like to explore superstitions around the world, because what we find with the more research that we do is that some of the things that actually happen ghost-wise or paranormal-wise, can be linked back to our deep beliefs in superstitions. And in Australia, many of those, pardon me, many of those that came out to Australia in the first years were from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. And of course, all of those countries are deeply superstitious. They have their myths and legends that have been around for hundreds of years. And of course, they all brought their myths and legends with them and continued to live in the shadow of those myths and legends and those superstitions and pass them on to their families. And so therefore it's kind of an ongoing thing, and there could be a tinge of one of these myths or superstitions when it comes to the paranormal that we experience now. But let's get back to these, and you'll find that this kind of tends to start to sound very similar as we go through it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the presentation.
Just before we go any further, can I beg you all a favour? It'll cost you nothing but a couple of clicks of your mouse. Could you please share this episode to a paranormal page that might like to learn a little bit about something new? This is the whole idea of the ABC of Paranormal, is that we are trying to share knowledge. We ourselves are learning as we're going, and there can't be people out there who don't want to learn. Surely everyone wants to learn.
Really?
All right, so if you could help us out by sharing it or even tagging a couple of people in this live show, we would really appreciate that. Helps us build our audience.
And shout out to our beautiful Liz McCoy from Norfolk Island. I want to go there today.
Now. We want to run away.
Run away! Liz. Please, can we come? So let's start. In ancient folklore, the kobold is a small, pointy-eared, goblin-like creature with a short temper and a mischievous spirit. Where have we heard that before?
That's Christy, isn't it?
While generally described as a well-intentioned, angering a kobold is said to be a dangerous mistake. I'll read from here. They are described as spirits that dwell among the living and can sometimes take the form of humans, elements, or animals, depending on where they choose to make their home. So this whole thing about living with spirit creatures, living with entities that are far older than humans, has been around forever. And this is this whole episode is based on the German mythology of the kobold, but you will find this little creature seems to live everywhere around the world. It just has a different name. Yeah.
Yep. And you wonder if people have taken these tales as they've travelled around the world, which was much slower back then, if they've taken their tales of their own little entities, critters, magical people, and told them elsewhere around the world, and that's then had people looking for their own, or whether these magical creatures are all around the world.
One of our lovely followers is actually doing an experiment at the moment where she's calling in her little home creature at the moment. Leslie's doing a bit of an experiment.
I didn't know. Yeah. That's so cool.
She is calling in a domovnik, which is that's a Slavic word for a house elf. So
Dobby.
Yeah,
we call them Dobby.
So that would be interesting to see what happens with her.
I've seriously considered setting up a little fairy door on our house and doing some little fairy houses and little fairy garden in there, particularly for my granddaughter Charlotte and Ruby, when Ruby's old enough. But I also like the idea of it.
Yeah. So a kobold is a sprite stemming from Germanic mythology and surviving into modern times in German folklore. So though there is much deliberation over the origin of the kobolds, it's believed that they descend from the ancient Greek koboloi, Sprite-like creatures often invoked by followers of the god Dionysus and rogues.
Ooh.
Even then, they were known as pranksters and tricksters who simultaneously aided the god Dionysus in his bacchanal adventures. So they would help everyone get drunk and disorderly back in the days.
I like the picture that you've
I
got
do,
there.
isn't it? So that's on a Greek urn. How much is a Greek urn? Not enough in these days, apparently.
No,
Greece has gone belly up. But isn't it funny that we've got a European mythology, and it actually stems from Greece. So, as you were saying, did this travel with the travelers that were going around and exploring back in the day, or did each of the countries have their own things that were occurring that were the same literally everywhere else around the world?
Yeah.
The other thing is that what we're seeing here too is this sprite-like creature that is known as a prankster and a trickster, which goes back to the tales of Loki.
Yes, I was thinking that too. He's an interesting little critter on the picture there.
I know, isn't it?
Are you cold? Are you okay?
No, it's fine.
I'm freezing.
Okay. So the Greek kobolos means rogue. It's just another picture that I found. So the most common depictions of kobolds show them as human-like figures the size of small children, and we've heard this before as being something that seems to be relevant in many of the superstitions that we find around the world. The size of them, they're small. Kobolds who live in human homes wear the clothing of peasants. Those who live in mines are hunched and ugly. Kobolds who live on ships smoke pipes and wear sailor clothing. Isn't that interesting? And when we look, there's a big helicopter. I don't know whether you hear that hovering over this area of Newcastle at the moment. I'm wondering what they're looking for. So there are these three main groupings of kobolds. And when you look at them, they would probably take up what was very important in those days for this particular nation of people. Of course, you have the kobold that lives in the house and can either make your house very disorderly if it wants to, and if you don't give it gifts to appease it. And then, of course, going down in the mines, which was something that would have been so horrendous. I think it still is now if you're working in the mines with someone who is quite terrified of being enclosed. I could not do it. But it would have been terribly, terribly frightening for people going down in the mines hundreds of years ago and trying to deal with that. And then, of course, you've got the kobolds who are found on ships, and sailors are some of the most superstitious people in the world, and I think they really, truly still are in this day and age because, yeah, there's very little they can do if the weather isn't working for them. So, yeah. So remarkable is the colour of their clothes. Typically, they wear grey, red, or black. Cultural scientists associate red with fire, and it is assumed that kobolds originated from early house and stove spirits. So, of course, you know, you had a fire going or a stove.
So that's an elemental sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. In most traditions, the stove is an important abode of these creatures. Written records from the Middle Ages and early modern period report these supernatural beings mainly from nobilities and monasteries. Very likely, kobolds were also popular in rural landscapes and between farmers and peasants, but there is little written evidence on that. I would say because they couldn't read and write.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that the written history is normally for the elite, because they were the only people who had those skills. So the common folk missed out telling their stories, and as we know, stories are always told from the perspective of the winner, or the one who wants to be seen in the best light. So
But it's very interesting, though, that the nobility and places like monasteries still had this superstition. So they weren't bigger than the peasants to say, well, it can't happen to us because we've got money, or, you know, we are in a more stable situation. They still had these raging superstitions that ruled their world. Very interesting. So most commonly, the creatures are house spirits of ambivalent nature. While they sometimes perform domestic chores,
Oh, I need some.
they play malicious tricks if insulted or neglected.
Oh no, I don't need some. Because I'm very naughty, so I'd be pulling puns left, right, and centre. Excuse pun.
No.
Pun, Paranormal United Network. Yay!
And look, I have to say that my ancestry is of the Slavic nations, Eastern European, and they had a huge belief in little creatures all over their environment, and they would have definitely had a house elf, which they would appease by leaving gifts out of usually homemade alcohol, vodka, and a piece of bread or something, just to keep them appeased.
Right, yeah. And look at the picture there. See the little tail on them? Isn't that cute?
Don't you love these coloured backgrounds? Aren't they beautiful?
They are very nice. They're very sparkly.
Oh, no! So another type of kobold haunts underground places such as mines, like this gorgeous little creature here.
Yeah, that looks like there was a big craze about gnomes and dwarves and things a couple of decades ago. Was it the 80s or the 90s? There was even a whole book that somebody did on them. And that looks like one of the pictures from the book. Can anyone remember what that book was? It went, you know, like a bestseller or something. You don't remember it?
No. I know the fairy book, but I don't know this one. Okay, you've got me.
Hopefully one of our listeners will know what it is.
So a third kind of kobold lives aboard ships and helps sailors.
Where are they in there?
And he is up on the mast there, or on that sticky outy thing at the front. Yeah.
Right, okay. And look how this has actually got formed words in there. Isn't that clever?
That's a German word. And we can really destroy that.
Yeah, no, we won't. Let's just keep going.
Now, going back to ships and being out on the ocean, which to me is the most terrifying thing that I could ever think of. Ghosts, no problem. Being out on a ship in the ocean, kill me now. But they had so many different superstitions about everything on board that, you know, if that wind wasn't up, you had done something wrong and you had crossed the gods, or, you know, these little sprites that lived on board the ship or whatever, and you were in big trouble. I wonder how many of these have now persisted and are still kind of being followed by the folk that are on board vessels now.
Yeah, like really big cruise liners and things like this. There'd have to be some little superstitions that would remain. But remember that in the early sailing days, it was bad luck to have women on a ship.
Yes. Well, that would suit me quite fine. I'd be happy with that. So, interestingly, the name of the element cobalt comes from this creature's name.
Oh.
Because medieval miners blamed the sprite for the poisonous and troublesome nature of the typical arsenical ores of this metal, cobaltite and SMALTITE, which polluted other mined elements. Isn't that really interesting?
That's the arsenical.
Arsenical. Arsenical?
Nickel sounds like you're doing something really dirty.
I thought that little bit of information was quite interesting. So sources equate the domestic kobold with creatures such as the English boggart, hobgoblin, and pixie. These pictures are awesome.
They are beautiful.
Also, the Scottish brownie.
Yeah, you know, I used to be a brownie.
Yeah, not this type of brownie.
I was a little shit.
And the Scandinavian Nissa or Tomta.
So cute. Look at the little face. Has it got whiskers there as well? Looks like they've got whiskers.
Yeah, it looks like it. They align the subterranean variety with the Norse dwarf.
Yeah, I feel Lord of the Rings coming on
Yeah,
here.
Yep. And the Cornish knocker, or Tommy knockers.
The Tommy knockers, yes. So that was a British thing, was it?
Mm-hmm.
So, because I know in the American shows, they did a whole season of haunted mines, and they were referring to the Tommy knockers in there.
Mm-hmm. All kobolds are shapeshifters, capable of taking any form, although they remain short in stature when they transform into humans. Ooh, little people. They
watch out, Louise.
Are also capable of invisibility, so will often attach themselves to a human without their knowledge. The unfortunate upshot of this is that the human can offend the kobold without even being aware of its presence and then suffer the consequences. Ooh.
Oh.
That would be a very difficult situation to find yourself in.
If you were invisible, what would you go and do? What's something you would go and do if you're invisible?
Oh, I don't know.
I've got no interest in seeing anyone in difficult situations.
No.
I don't know. I maybe I'd like to be in on a meeting where they were discussing our future or something like that.
I don't know. Invisibility is one thing. Being able to travel and go to these places is another. So I'd have to.
We could jump on planes and travel free.
Yeah. Well,
yes,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Don't know how we get our bags on board, but that's okay. Someone said rob a bank. There's a few people that say rob a bank. All I'm interested in is traveling.
So kobolds should receive regular offerings to show that their help is appreciated. When they do not, they become angry. Asking a kobold to leave creates similar offense because it also indicates that their help is not appreciated. And this is when we get into our house investigations and home investigations, and how it is very important to have a look at the background of the family that you are working with, because you don't know whether in their deep subconscious there is a memory of these particular myths, or whether they have lived with these particular myths within their family structure, and they believe that there may be a little bit of a sprite or a little person in their home that is creating havoc. And do we, again, this goes back to, do we have the right to remove these entities? Because they have been around for a really long time. And of course, if we ask them to move, they are going to get pretty shitty.
Well, if somebody walked into my house and said, you have to leave, I don't like you here, I would get pretty poopy as well. Oh, here's a handsome one.
I know. Just a little picture. Can move on. So if a kobold is angry or offended, all the help they were providing reverses. An example would be that if they used to turn milk into butter during the night, now they would cause the milk to sour for no reason. They might pull thatch from a roof at night, causing a need for repairs, or on ships they might tangle the ropes or sails, or distract the crew with laughter and jeers. In mines, the beneficial kobolds would take on the traits of the evil kobolds described earlier, although not as vicious or deadly.
Right, so they're saying if the beneficial ones, right, okay, that's if they're angry or offended.
Yeah.
Right,
if you really poop them off, they will become very, very destructive. And it doesn't sound like they actually do anything bad to you themselves. They will just cause havoc around.
Cause chaos around you.
Chaos and
so
havoc
you can't
around you.
work to your best ability, or you've got to go and fix things, which takes more time. And
which sounded like what happened to me last night when I started working on on some of my stuff, and everything just went wrong. So in Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's Faust, the kobold represents the Greek element of earth, which is very interesting. Salamander shall kindle, writhe nymph of the wave, in air sylph shall dwindle, and kobold shall slave.
Ah,
Who doth ignore the primal fall, nor knows all aright their use and might, o'er spirits will he ne'er master be. So in other words, what he's saying here is respect the four elements and get to know them very well. Work with them, not against them, because that's the only way you will become master.
right.
So kobolds also appear in many modern fantasy-themed games like Clash of Clans, usually as a lower power or low-level enemy. They exist as a non-playable race in the World of Warcraft video game series and also feature on tabletop games such as Magic the Gathering. In Dungeons & Dragons, the kobold appears as an occasionally playable race of lizard-esque peoples or beings. In Might and Magic games, notably Heroes 6, 7, they are depicted as being mouse-dwarf hybrids.
So that's completely away from what they're actually historically.
Yeah, but it's interesting that a lot of these games bring in the legends and the superstitions of the past as active players in their made-up worlds.
Yep.
And on that note, we end this little mini masterclass on kobolds and those little earth creatures that seem to live around us, or we live with them. And in many cases, these superstitions have been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And we think we are all very, very smart at this point in time, and we can ignore those entities and think they are all nothing but superstition, when in fact, are they? Or are they real?
Thank you very much, Renata. That was fascinating. I think it's very interesting that as soon as we ended that ABC of Paranormal, our numbers halved.
Oh.
As soon as we hit that last page, it was gone. And this is the part where we normally do our free readings and paranormal Q&A. So if anyone has questions on the paranormal for us, pop it up into the comments now. Or if you would like to have a one-card reading from Renata, I'm going to try and find my cards. I'm not quite sure where they are at the moment. And
that's all right. I'll deal with them.
Yep.
If you feel that you have a little house sprite in your home, we would love to hear that story. We'd love to know what that little sprite is doing and what havoc he or she may be creating, and whether there have been ongoing issues. And Jessica, it costs nothing to have a reading. At the moment, it's free.
If you'd like a private reading with Renata, what you need to do is go to luckypsychic.com. I'll pop that banner up underneath so that you can see that, and you can book her no matter where you are in the world.
Yep, email readings are available.
Yep, you can do your email readings. Okay, so we just asked that we don't have a super personal question like, is my husband cheating on me? Should I leave my wife? Those sorts of questions, you don't want to air that sort of stuff on Facebook world. However, if you would like to know about your career, study, love life, anything like that, go for it. What was the other thing? Oh, also health questions. Not is my cancer treatment working, or anything like that. That's not another thing that we can answer quickly or easily in such a public forum.
And if we could have a question, please.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Instead of just pull a card, pick me, let's get an actual card about something specific that we can help you with. So general guidance, I would like some general guidance, please. Anything like that. We're going to go for people who are being very specific with their questions today. So Sandra says, with so many people believing these creatures exist in online games, I would think it gives them more power to exist in general.
Absolutely.
Very well said.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jessica has asked, could she have a general card reading, please?
Okay, so this is for Jessica Hoff.
Now, Renata reads the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, and she does a brilliant job. She has been studying tarot for many, 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 many years, and is a gifted psychic medium. I read from the Naughty Spirit Oracle cards, and I make it up as I go along.
So Jessica, for you, this is your card here that has been drawn, and it is the Justice card. It is one of the major arcana cards in the tarot deck, and a major arcana card, when it comes up, is about your life choices and your life points, and it's a really important card to focus on and to try and distill and work out why you are in the place that you are and whether you are comfortable being there. And the Justice card here, she's not a happy girl in this particular card depiction, and it is about her her environment and how she finds that she needs to fight against it. And so the more you stress and the more you try and fight against the flow, the more you may find that you actually have difficulty in this particular time and state of where you are at. So the Justice card is always looking for balance and is always looking at how to destroy the demons in their own lives and in the lives of others. But sometimes the mistakes we make have serious consequences, and we have to deal with those serious consequences and actually work through them. It is something that cannot be ignored. And so therefore the Justice card is saying, where are you leading your life at the moment? Are you leading it in a place where you're feeling that there will be balance, or are you leading it down a path that is going to create a scenario, whether it be in a month or 2 months or 6 months, where you are having to deal with the consequences which aren't so nice? And the thing about all these major arcana cards is that we've been here before, we've done these things before, so it is a repetition of issues, and the universe and the world is looking at whether we have progressed at all and whether we can change and shift and conquer those things in a shorter period of time than we did prior.
Okay, and I've pulled a naughty card for you. It's now they swear, so please don't yell at me. It says, stop sweating the small fecking stuff. It's getting fecking tiresome. So work out what your real problems are. Stop worrying about every little tiny thing around you that is driving you nuts. Work out what the bigger problem is. What is your trigger that this little stuff triggers you? It's not the little stuff. There's something big behind it. So love, naughty spirit. Anyway.
Just to answer Sandra Lawrence's question, the Oracle deck has arrived in Sydney. It is somewhere there. They have opened it and had a look at it, and they know it is not some sort of contraband or something that has come that is illegal. We are just now waiting for information about it actually coming to us. So there.
All right. Sandra wants to know, what should I do about my mother?
Oh. Put her in a home?
Maybe that's what the question is about. We don't know.
Okay, the King of Swords. So this is a card that says you can't keep asking what you should do about your mother. You need to make a decision. And the King of Swords and this particular card is a card that is asking you to be very decisive and to be strong and to take your emotions out of the decision that needs to be made, because we find it very, very difficult to make decisions about those that are very close to us. Often the best thing is to ask advice of a person who might know more about a particular situation. So if it is a health-related situation, or if it is something that is really impacting your relationship with your mum and relationships with everybody else, it's worth finding the time to ask a professional for help with regard to this, because our emotions will always get in the way when it is to do with someone that is very, very close to us. But stop wondering and start taking action. That's the only place that is available for you at this point in time.
I would say that you know what needs to be done about your mother. You just don't like what needs to be done about your mother, and it's starting it that is the issue. Does that make sense to you, Sandra? Once again, I'm going for the people who are after something specific. rather than just something general. We'll go to the general ones once we've got the specific ones done.
And our lovely Barbara Harrington Craft that has said, when are you coming to the USA? Tomorrow, if we could.
Possible.
So your question is, what do you see me doing in my retirement starting next year? Barbara, you have to start planning this out, girl. Look, I have heard many, many, many sad stories of people who wait their whole life for retirement and go, yes, when retirement hits, I am going to enjoy myself so much because I have worked so hard, deliberately hard my whole life so that I can enjoy my retirement. But they haven't really planned out what they want to do. And I guess in these really interesting times, it's hard to kind of envision what that future might hold. But part of what comes to my mind is actually a shift and a move. It's like you're waiting to move and find that special spot in the world, wherever it might be. It might be down the road, might be in another township. It might be across the country, who knows, where you can feel as though you can drop all the masks, drop everything that you've required to do and actually totally be yourself. And I see you sitting somewhere on a back porch or a front porch, just sipping a nice hot cup of tea and reading a book and not worrying about the stresses of what everybody else is asking you to do right now. It's like that absolute runaway, and that's what I want to do. And you know what? Go ahead and do it. Absolutely go ahead and do it.
Oh, good card. I've got a card.
Yeah.
All right. Are you worried about the finances around your retirement? Because the naughty cards are saying, when you can see it, you are prosperous. So stop telling that fecking story that you're not. So you must be worried that is this the right time to do it? Will I have enough money behind me? According to the naughty cards, and Anne, who has no skill whatsoever, you're okay. Jessica said, thank you. She understands what the cards mean and what to do. Barbara says, oh my God, yes. Sandra is saying that, thanks, guys. It does make sense. I have a complicated relationship with her and she doesn't respect my boundaries.
Yeah.
I will ask a psych for advice.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because this mix of temperaments and this need that grows in the elderly, sometimes when they feel that they are going to be completely lost, confused and alone, can make things very, very difficult in situations.
Okay, so how does one prevent attachments? I'm a paranormal investigator and an empath.
You need
Thanks, Sally, for joining us.
You need to do our course.
All right, so I find that with being a paranormal investigator myself, that the whole attachment thing does not happen as often as people make it out to be. I also find that it has a lot to do with permissions. When I'm investigating a location, I am interacting with the other side. I'm calling them in. I'm saying, touch me. I want to feel your presence. I want this. I want that. Well, with each one of those things, I'm saying, enter my space, enter around me, do something. So it's very important at the end of your investigation to then go, thank you so much for whatever it is that you have done tonight, but I now remove every single one of those permissions and even ones that I have inadvertently given. And that sort of removes the permission for them to come home with you or to attach to you. Sometimes as an empath, your heart is open. You are a carer, you are a giver, you are trying to nurture, and you don't even realize that you are feeling sorry for these individuals or the entities, which sort of gives them an emotional opening for them to interweave with you. So you just have to be careful that you don't open yourself up too much. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, healthy boundaries is really, really important, and setting a very strong intention before you go in. The work we do as paranormal investigators is internal, often, and it is about looking at how vulnerable we are at any given stage. And if you are feeling extremely vulnerable, don't go on an investigation. You have to work with really working on the core strength and your core belief system before you go out and try and explore in these unknown worlds, because we all live with biases, we all live with our life story, and we all have our Achilles heel. And the environment really knows well how to trigger that Achilles heel. Just look at what is happening in the world at the moment with the stuff that is on Twitter and the stuff that is online, and triggering everyone's emotional states. Everyone is in hypervigilance at the moment, and we've been enabled to be like that because of the political and stressful environment that we've been living in over the last few years. And so everyone is kind of overdone. We're overbaked, and we're not giving ourselves enough time to rest and recuperate and find where our grounding and our baseline is. So who are you normally? That's how you have to, first of all, look at it, Audi. Who are you normally? What do you feel like on a day-to-day basis? What keeps you happy? What keeps you motivated? The moment you start losing that, there can be signs of stress, anxiety, and depression that are coming in that have got absolutely nothing to do with the paranormal. But once you get yourself into that situation and you have opened up that vulnerability, then anything else that pops into your energy bubble will either empower it or disempower it. And when you talk about attachments, that's a disempowering emotion. And so you have to go back and kind of work out where you stop and that starts, and how you can deal with it from that point on. So understanding what you are dealing with and how it is impacting upon you is the first thing. And then finding people and finding ways where you can de-stress, where you can have an energy healing, where you can build your energy back up, are all different types of skills and strategies that you can employ. And even if you are not feeling as though you have picked up on something, the thing is that sometimes these things build over days or weeks, and you've already created a small weakness, a small chink in the armor. And so it could be that there is a buildup that happens over time, and it doesn't hit you until days or weeks later. So these processes of grounding and boundaries is something that you need to practice daily, even if you're feeling well.
Isn't Renata sounding so much better? She's sounding, after her pneumonia, you are sounding fantastic.
Yeah, I still can't get rid of the bags under my eyes. But
no, that's old age, love.
Ah.
I can't get rid of the double chins. All right, Leanne Mignonelli. I hope I said that correctly. Hello, ladies. I'm feeling someone trying to tell me something, but I can't hear it. I've been seeing signs constantly, but I really need help. Please.
Leanne, you might not hear it. That might not be your skill. That might not be your skill set to actually hear it. We expect all of these things to happen so magically for us because we want them, we need them so desperately. I'm wondering what's happening in your day-to-day life that you feel that this soul, this energy, this angel or this guardian is trying to reach out to you and tell you something. So you may actually be ignoring what is in plain sight, because the thing that you are wanting is someone to say to you, it's this, when actually it's quite visible and quite readily available to you to know about if you focused on the right thing. So my advice to you is to say thank you to whoever it is for letting me know that there is something going on. Now, please help me and assist me to look well into my life here on earth and look deeply into what it is that I need to know. So open up that ability for yourself by asking deeply into your conscious, your subconscious, your angels, your spirit guides, and let them literally push you into that information rather than trying to hear what is needed for you to do. That's simplistic, and it's not normally that simplistic. If it's life-changing, they will make it hard because they want to slap you around, Leanne, and go, for freaking sake, it's there in front of you, girl. Stop ignoring it.
Okay. Hello, Pink Unicorn. How are you?
Hello, Pink Unicorn. Love you to death.
All right, Sandra. Yeah, we are so excited to see them too. To actually hold them in our hands is going to be cool when we get our deck. Maybe this week. I don't know. With Sydney locked down and no essential, sort of non-essential work happening, I don't know if they consider unpacking the ships for cargo an essential thing or not. Pink Unicorn has a question for you. Will my son get his student funding?
Oh, gee. I'm hoping so. Actually, I'm going to read the Eight of Cups as a card that is very, very positive because it's sending him out into the future and it's giving him the ability to focus on something finally that he can really throw his energy at. So if he's literally been living in a cave, which is like what this particular card is showing, and really cutting himself off from society and waiting for the big sign that says this is what you need to be doing, I think it's coming, and I think it's going to be good. So my answer to that would be a yes.
And Barbara says, you ladies are spot on. Something plans are in the work as we speak. Oh, those plans, I think it was supposed to be the typo. I don't think we're hosing anyone, Barbara. Kim says, I'm about to start a new career. How will I go with this, please?
Okay. Hello, gorgeous Kim Graham. And look, I know that for you, friendship and connection are really important. And this is what this card again says, Three of Cups, friendship and connection. So you look so much deeper at what a career for you means. And a career may not necessarily just be about money. And just be about advancing yourself in any sort of way. It's about getting out into the world and finding those people around you that you can communicate with and feeling valuable. But mostly this card is about leaving the past behind and leaving the stresses and the people that did stress you and make you anxious and make you feel less than in the dumpster. So moving on and kind of saying, you know what, I don't need you and I don't need your shitty work anymore, and I'm going on to something different, and I'm going to prove,
we're a little blunt here.
I'm going to prove to myself that I can do this and I'm going to shine. So you go for it, Kim.
And Aldi says, thanks, I'm 64 and most of my investigating I do alone.
Yeah, Aldi. Hey, look, I'm 63 this year, I think. I tried to work that out last night and I went, yeah, I just don't want to. I don't want to. So I hear you. I hear you, sweet person. And it is harder to do it alone. See if you can reach out even to a group that may not be close to you, but that makes sense and isn't flighty and fluffy. And
show us what you got, demon.
Yeah, and talks sense, and get into a correspondence with them. You can do that online nowadays, just like you are now. But yeah, don't kind of just be in a lone space, because that can really get you tripping over yourself, in mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah, and also you've got to be careful of the living when you go out investigating by yourself. It's good to have a wingman with you, or a wing girl. We've got a carer. Her name is Christy. Now, this is going to be our last question because we are running out of time. A question with table tipping. Is it a good way to communicate with a loved one, or is it a good, bad thing to do?
Maxine, again, just like the last question, I would never do this on my own, because you end up either getting frustrated that you're not building enough energy to make anything happen, or number two, you are self-sabotaging by telling yourself exactly what you want to hear. So it's always great to have another one or two people around you that know what they're doing, that you can all balance each other out and be there for each other when maybe something curly happens, or something that you are not prepared for, or that makes you think. And so the more you can do this in a environment that cares for you and helps and assists you grow in that particular way of communication, is the best way to go. It's not a bad thing, absolutely, but our brains can skew the smallest thing to make it the most horrible thing in the world. And that's what we've got to practice on. We've got to practice getting control of this.
And what I used table tipping for to start with was actually to explore the world of physical mediumship. And I didn't actually use it for communicating as such. It was just to find out what was possible. But you do need to work with a good group of people who are all very like-minded, very good common sense, who aren't too far down the rabbit hole of spirituality, so that they can still think logically and not be too woo-woo, because you really do need to call bullshit when you see it.
Yeah.
And if somebody's on there going, oh, it always moves when I'm on the table, then you need to call it bullshit if you can see them doing it. So it's more an exploration of physical mediumship and working with your spirit team and developing your abilities more than it is communicating. That's just my little 2 cents anyway.
Absolutely.
Pop that back out of there. So thank you so much, everyone, for all your questions and everything today. Don't forget to stay on with the Paranormal United Network. I do believe it's the Spectral Sailor or something like that is next. If you would like to pop over to the Paranormal United Network Facebook page, and you'll be able to see what is coming up over there. Leanne just wanted to give you a little bit of feedback there, saying thank you. I have tried to open and ask for clarity. I've had so many walls that I've built, it's hard to find an opening. So,
but it's there, Leanne.
Yep.
It's there. And allow yourself to grow.
And
allow yourself to grow.
Kim is saying, thank you so very much, Renata. That was spot on. Friendship, as you know, means the world to me.
Yep.
And I'm going into a support carer's role. Beautiful.
Oh, that's just amazing. Perfect
Awesome.
for you.
All right, so with that, we are going to finish off. Please make sure, if you'd like to listen to our Spooky Sunday on Newcastle Live, that you download the app, and then you can listen live at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is Sydney time, every Sunday, or you can catch up later and watch it in your own time when they organise the playback feature. So, guys, thank you. And guess
See you
what?
next week.
See you on the dark side.